Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, Reeling in Holistic Health, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I'm your host, Coach Rice, and I want to make sure that you tune in every Monday at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time, where I have my special guest on to talk about real issues that matter most. I want you to check us out on YouTube, Facebook Live, on Business Facebook page, also on the Be Awesome Network. Stay tuned. I think you're going to really like this next guest. Happy Monday and welcome to Casting the Net, where we care about your mental health and well-being. I am your host, Coach Rice, and with me I have a special guest. Her name is Jobi Jones. She is a speaker, writer, entrepreneur, and co-founder of J3 Publishers. With more than 25 years in ministry, she is passionate about helping people move forward in faith, steward their stories well, and walk boldly in their God-given purpose. So Jobi, tell us where you're from. And how did you embark upon this ministry?
Thank you so much, Martha, for having me today. Absolutely. So I was born and raised here in Jacksonville, Florida. We are such a melting pot of a city. So when I meet people and I tell them that I was actually born here in 1974, they're like, what? And I'm like, yes, I really have been here my whole life. So I am from Jacksonville. I love this city. And our newest entrepreneur adventure, J3 Publishers, is themed around being a publisher for the city of Jacksonville, and our concentration is the people of Jacksonville. And the reason why we're focusing here is because a lot of people write books, and they go to publish, but their publishers are never in their hometown. And so we like to sit with authors and talk to authors. And then when we actually get their final manuscript in our hand, we actually get to sit with the authors and be together with them, which is beautiful. And they can see their book in front of them. But that is like the end of the story. The beginning of the story is not like that. The beginning of the story actually started very opposite of getting to the place we're having J3 Publishers. So I can share that if you would like, but
I would love for you to share that.
Okay, awesome. Well, growing up here in Jacksonville, I was never the brightest kid in the sense of smarts, right? English was my absolute worst subject. Grammar, spelling, all of it. It was the worst. I was the kid that wanted to go outside, play in the mud, drink off the water hose, and go for a bike ride. I just was not the learning kind of girl. I was very, very mischievous, got into trouble all the time. And as I grew up, the Lord kept trying to get a hold of my life. He kept coming after me and kept coming after me and kept coming after me. And finally, just shy of 21 years old, I surrendered my life to the Lord. And in doing that, of course, if, as anybody knows, you can surrender your life to the Lord, but you're not all okay all at once. It takes a lot of time. And so over
true.
Yes. So over the years, he's just continued to grow me and continue to grow me. And then over the years, I became a hairstylist. So I was a hairstylist. Gosh, I still do hair a little bit now for 34 years, and over a 34-year time frame. Just one thing led to another. And when I had to retire, I had to learn something new. So I started learning graphic design and websites. I started learning to podcast. I started learning all these different things. And this creativity in me had always been there, even as a kid. When I couldn't write, when I couldn't spell, I still had this creative mind that could tell a story. I had such an imagination. And so just over the years, God has little by little used that creativity to give me the ability to write. And then I marry a literature major who's not only a literature major, but he has a minor in journalism. And then we collide with the gifts that God had given us, and we pressed through, and here we are now on this side of it. And I'm a writer and a speaker and an author, and truly God uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise, because that is just not how I was bent, or how I started life out. I didn't even read my first whole book till I was 16, and then never read another one till I went to college for a very short time, and I read 9 books in one semester. And I was already 26 years old at that time. If that tells you anything, that's how much I hated to read and oh, it was horrible. So, and here we are. Yeah.
I like how God calls the unqualified, right?
He does. He does. Very much
And
so.
now you're helping others to publish books as well. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe, because I hear this sometimes, that you cannot write a book unless you're a reader? Is that true?
That is not true. That is not true
Thank
at
you for
all.
clarifying.
Yes. And the reason why I say that, I talk to authors all the time, and they tell me they have this idea, but they haven't written anything. And I tell them in a very candid way, I say, open your computer now, and I want you to write me one word. And then I said that one word is going to lead to a sentence. And then that next sentence is going to lead to another sentence. I said, I don't care about what your manuscript looks like at that moment. What I care about is you getting your story and your idea out there on that piece of paper, on that computer screen, on that voice recorder. Just start talking, because words become sentences, and sentences become paragraphs, and paragraphs become stories. Yeah.
Yes, that's so true. I'm glad you clarified that, because some people don't write because they don't like to read.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's that connection where, oh, if I don't read, I can't write. And
I guess I don't believe that, because if we know the creative brain at all, there's so much going on in the creative brain anyway. It's just that that's almost a limitation or a lie, so to say, because it blocks them from getting that creativity and that imagination out. So they're stuck with it. It goes in their head, right? And it
agree,
stays
yes.
there. Yeah.
I totally agree. What is one thing you want the audience to walk away from with? What message would you like them to walk away with as we dialogue?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that everyone's story is important. All of our stories in our lives may have similarities, right? Maybe there was, I don't know, let me just go ahead and just dive real deep. Maybe there's been addicts over the years in the family, right? Maybe there's been abuse over the years in the family. Maybe there's been a lot of musicians over the years in the family, authors in the family. Maybe there's been doctors in the family. Everybody may have similarities in their family circles as to who's there and what they've done.
Mhm.
But as an individual, we still have our own experiences and our own stories and our own uniqueness, regardless of how we've grown up or what we've grown up around, or our similarities. Each and every single one of us, we have a unique story to tell, because our story is just that, ours. Nobody else has your story. Nobody else has my story. And so I would want the listener, the audience, to take away that to don't believe the lie that their story doesn't matter, or that their experiences doesn't matter, or that the wisdom that they have, or what they've been through, or the things that they have learned, how they've gotten back up after failure, how they've come out of seasons. All of it matters. Every single one of it. One of our stories matter, and somebody out there has to hear your story. And the reason why I say that is because you never know if you are the actual person that hands them the fish, right? Or that they can eat, right? Or right? Or
Yes.
if you're casting that net, so to say, right? And you're
Right.
bringing them in so that they can enjoy fellowship, so that they can, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm.
And that's true. And I think that we underestimate the power of stories,
Yes.
where how it makes someone feel
Mm-hmm.
that they're not alone. How important in your career have have you seen where people the way your the stories that you've heard have touched your heart in a way it made you feel like, wow, I'm not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. As a hairstylist for many, many years, I could tell you some of the stories that I have heard over the years. And being that we're publishers now, we see manuscripts come through and just the power of those stories. But I would say that there are some stories, like you were just saying a moment ago, they can impact you to the point where you just never forget someone's story. You never forget how it has impacted you. And just one real quick one. So I had a lady, and she was going into retirement, and she
Mhm.
said, you know, my whole life, I've always wanted to create this poem using starfish. And then she went on to tell me how her grandmother used to sit her on her lap, and her grandmother used to read this story to her, and how she just remembers everything about that story leading to Christ, and how there's such significance with the starfish and the story of Christ. And so her whole life, this grandmother's time that she spent with her impacted her whole life. And here she was, as a 60 something year old woman, still carrying this memory on the inside of her. And she said, Joby, I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I'm going to somehow tell my grandma's story. I'm going to tell it in this story form with this poem, and I'm going to make these starfish thing and all this thing. And I said, "Well, we're not talking about it anymore." I said, "We're doing it." I said, "So, send me your poem." I said, "And we're going to do some graphics with it, and we're going to make this thing work." And so, sometimes a story can impact someone so much that they carry it their whole entire life, and it just needs to come out because it can make an impact for somebody else. So, and it did on me. I still remember her
Wow.
story, and this was 5 years ago. So, I think, did I answer your question? I think I kind of
Yes.
went
Yes, you
off
did.
a little bit. Did I
No, no, no,
answer
no. You didn't. No, you answered the question. When did you first realize that stories, had such a powerful impact, differently than facts or
it?
information just alone? You know what I mean?
Sure. For whatever reason, the way that I am wired, anytime I go to speak to a
Mhm.
group of women, or to speak to whoever in a Bible study setting or at a women's conference, anything like that, for whatever reason, every time I would go to prepare, the Lord would always give me a story to tell first. And in that story, it would be the launching pad that I would need to then go into the Word of God. And if for whatever reason the Lord would give me a story that would impact the audience and be able to drive whatever it was that I was teaching home. And then to solidify that, I just remember John Maxwell saying one time that stories matter, and when we tell a story, that you actually have the ability to bring your audience in, to captivate them,
Yes.
makes such a difference. And so when I learned how to just wheel a story, for the lack of better words, wield the story like a sword. When I learned how to just do that, or not even learn, I practiced how to tell the story by my own experiences. It just makes a huge impact when I'm speaking. Even now, I'm writing a Bible study right now called waiting on the return of our prodigals, for the parent who has lost their child to the world, or has
Mm,
lost their child to losing their child losing their faith. And I started off with a story, and I started off with a story that impacted me, concerning my daughter's life, and how that shifted me as a parent and has made an impact ever since. So stories have a way of drawing the person in so that they actually listen. Because
yes.
so we can sit with people, Martha, all day long. We can sit with them and we can blah 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 blah. But if we can captivate their ears and their heart, we can make an impact.
And stories tend to do that. Yes. That is
Indeed.
so true. It's a way to connect.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
It's a way to tell the person listening they're not alone. And people need to hear they're not alone.
That's true because you definitely feel isolated in some of the things that you go through.
Absolutely.
Mhm. So,
Absolutely.
you are an author yourself. Book, what books or books have you published on your
So,
own? Yours, that's yours.
yeah. So right now, there's just a small little Bible study journal out, on the Book of Psalms, and basically that book was a Thanksgiving offering to the Lord. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I really found myself in a pit a couple of years ago, and I was going down, and I was going down deep, and I was going down hard, and it was getting really dark. And if it
We
were
know
not
we want to hear that story, but I don't want to be intrusive, but
right, right. So when the Lord snatched me out of that
Mhm.
pit by putting his hand down, reaching down in that pit and yanked me up, I just wrote this little psalm book as a Thanksgiving
Oh,
offering to him, because it was through the Psalms that brought me out of that deep, dark place. The Psalms,
wow.
yeah, the Psalms are filled with every emotion that the human heart can feel.
Yes.
And
I used to read it and go, I saw him praise, lament. I mean, all of these different emotions that he experienced
yes,
as he
yes.
was talking to the Lord.
And King David did not hold back.
I know some of the stuff is uncomfortable. You're
Yeah,
like,
yes, yeah. He's like, he'll just say, God, you just take my enemies and punch them in the teeth, you know?
right. I mean, I used to be, oh my God. You went,
What? But
he just let it out. He was
yes,
so authentic in the way he
yes.
spoke. And so as you were writing the Psalms, did you tell stories throughout the book as you were writing it?
Yes. So what I did was I just basically asked a question. I would have the reader in the book. The reader just reads the psalm, and then I ask them a question, and then they journal it. And then there's a
Okay.
podcast that goes along with it. So then they can turn the podcast on, and then they can hear me kind of elaborate on each day of that psalm. And it was just a beautiful way to, not like I said, not only my Thanksgiving offering, but it was a beautiful way to sort out my own feelings and my own healing through that. And so I shared it with others. And then I have a couple books in the works. Right now, I'm writing a book called Warrior and Princess. It's fight like it. The subtitle is Fight Like a Girl and Bow Like a Princess.
Okay.
So that's a work in progress. So I'm doing that. I'm also writing this Waiting on the Return of the Prodigal. So I'm in the midst of two books right now.
Oh,
And then
wow.
right, and then I know it's a lot. And then
That's nice.
we're ghostwriting right now too. And we're ghostwriting for a 79-year-old lady right now. And so her story has become our story. And so we are literally in the midst of writing that. So we've got a couple of things going on. And then, of course, you don't necessarily have to have a book to be considered a writer. If you're a Bible study teacher, kind of like I am, or you speak and you teach and you tell stories, you still have to write what you're going to say. So
Exactly.
I consider people writers who write studies to talk about in front of other people. So I consider that writing as well.
I do too. I agree with you on that. And so you guys only, your client base is only for Jacksonville, Florida, correct?
No, we will
Or
take
did you expand?
right. We will
Okay.
take clients from all over the world, but
Okay.
our heart is here in Jacksonville because we get to be face to face with the authors.
Right.
But if they don't live here, it's totally fine because we have things like this, Zoom and,
Yes.
FaceTime phone calls, and we can still see the author. But yes. So yeah.
That's awesome. My mother is from Jacksonville, Florida, and I've never been.
What? Oh, you've never been here?
Shame on me. My mother and father, they met in Jacksonville, Florida, actually.
Wow. Oh, that's wonderful. Well, if you ever do
Hmm.
decide to come, I can take you on a tour. Trust me.
Oh, that'd be awesome. And so that's good that you I love the fact that you help other authors and you really helping them bring out what's inside. And
Yes.
so what is your onboarding process for clients?
That's interesting. I do it a couple ways. So first, if they are willing, they'll share their manuscript with me, which is
Okay.
what I prefer. So if they share their manuscript with me, I get to see what kind of writer they are, and I get to see how much work is needed or where they are in the manuscript process. So that's one way. The other way is I do free consultations with people because sometimes what happens is, like I was telling you before, somebody may have this idea in their mind and they want to write a book, but they have no idea where to start and what to do.
Right.
So that's another way I help authors, by just spending some time with them consulting, helping them get an outline, so to say, or at least something on paper to where they can follow and start getting that book out. But mainly, if a person has a manuscript that is complete, we do like to look at the manuscript for sure, and then get a feel for if we would accept that manuscript or not. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then so what's the turnaround time?
Oh, wow. Well, it depends on the complexity of the manuscript.
Okay.
If somebody is a very talented writer who is very, what would be the word, grammatically sound, then their manuscripts can get turned around fairly quick. About 6 weeks is how quickly we can turn a
Okay.
manuscript around. If it's really, really well written and there's not a lot of edits, it can even be 4 to 6 weeks. So, we're talking from start to finish, final edits, cover work.
Wow.
So we can do it pretty fast. But if there is an author like me who wasn't very good in school, and their grammar and their spelling and things like that aren't real good, sometimes we do have to spend a lot more time with their manuscript and get it polished for them. We prefer that their manuscript already comes polished to us. It does make the process a lot better, but sometimes it is what it is. People just don't know how to do that, and so they rely on us to do that for them as well.
Okay.
One thing
So
that, yeah, sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing that we are against, and I would like to say this to all of your audience. If they truly want to get their work published by a publisher, please, whatever you do, do not write with AI. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but AI is artificial. So you put your human thoughts into, let's say it's Chat GPT. You put your human thoughts in there, but when those thoughts come back, they come back artificial. So we truly don't believe you to be a writer if your manuscript would come to us in AI form. And even big time publishers like Tinsdale and now their names are like leaving my mind, but Tinsdale and
I get the point.
right, like all of the big time people, if they see a manuscript and they spot AI, they chunk it, they throw it out immediately. And so we don't throw it out in a mean way. We just sit down with the author and say, if you can turn this manuscript back into human form, then we can talk. So I'm just trying to save any of your listeners out there who are thinking about writing a book to just do not write it with AI. We can tell.
Wow.
We can tell immediately, actually.
You really can. You really can.
Really
I'm
can.
sure.
Oh, yeah. I can look at something like that and go, oh, yes, that's AI. So, yeah. Yes.
That's funny.
And there are ways though, Martha. So there are ways to use AI to help you along, but there's a right way to use AI and then transferring it back into your human words. So that's just the key. So some people do get stuck. And so if you get stuck, it's okay to seek
to
that
pull
ideas.
ideas.
Right.
But not to actually say, write this book and turn it in.
Exactly. And one of the main reasons, there's several reasons, but one of the main reasons why we do that is AI will plagiarize authors. So if you, like, for instance, if you say, tell me a little bit about what boundaries look like in my life, right? Or what would boundaries look like in my life? I'm trying to write a paragraph, right? And artificial intelligence spits that back out to you. And if they use the lines if they use the line, well, boundaries are a way for you to say yes and a way for you to say no. A boundary is like having a fence around your life, and then there's a gate, and you say what comes in and what goes out. Well, those words right there are taken from the Boundaries book by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. Townsend. And if a person doesn't know that, they don't know that ChatGPT has just spit out plagiarism off of somebody else's book.
Exactly.
So that can get into you can get into legal trouble, that way.
Yeah, and you want to avoid that at all costs.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, because it's a lot of people that probably write books and use 100% AI, right?
Oh, all the time. All the time.
Because I'm seeing books coming out left and right.
Yes. Literally, you can have ChatGPT write you a book in 5 seconds. Yeah. And it's sad, though, because it takes away what God has given a human being. And God has given a human being the ability to be creative, the ability to have imagination, the ability to seek Him for wisdom, to be able to craft our words and wield our words in a way in which it makes an impact on people. And so when we use AI, we're taking away that beautiful piece of our soul and spirit that God has given us. He uniquely has made us. And when we rely on that artificial intelligence, then we don't get a chance to rely on the anointing and the wisdom of God that He would like to pour out of us onto a piece of paper for other people to read and to understand and to glean from our past experiences and hurts and stories and all the things.
And it's interesting because if it's your story, it's hard for AI to kind of write it the way you want it anyway.
Yeah, they can frame it pretty good, but it's still not
Not
that
the heart of the human experience, right?
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I'm a little old school. I mean, but in a traditional sense, publishers nowadays actually look for non-AI manuscripts.
That's good.
Trend for AI manuscripts is becoming so popular that publishers are now trying to find who's a real writer now, who's a real
author,
because AI is coming, is just infiltrating everything And so
Hmm.
real traditional publishers are looking for authors who know how to actually bring their words forth from
Yeah.
their heart, from a human mind.
Yeah, because I mean, not to be on AI so much, but
Right.
it is like it's taken over to the point that it's dumbing us down if we're not careful.
Martha, I'll have to agree. And there, for all your listeners out there who love AI, there is definitely wonderful things about
It
AI.
is.
AI has some really cool things that you can do. So I'm not totally against it. But to your point, we lose that beautiful ability to be able to go and research something on our own or go and talk to people to find out their experiences or go read something that is truly something that someone has walked through. We lose the ability, like I was saying earlier, of taking that God-given that creativity and that imagination that he puts into our lives.
Hmm.
And AI can take that from us, and then like you said, we just become dumbed down. We don't have to think anymore, and we
Right.
can't lose. That's the thing that artificial intelligence can't take from us, and that's the ability to think. And if we continue to allow artificial intelligence to think for us, then we lose this beautiful ability that God gives us with our brain. And I don't know. I'm passionate about that, I guess, as you can tell. I just don't want people to be robots, so to say. We
Yeah.
have the ability to think. God has given us the mind of Christ. We have the mind of Christ.
Yes.
What? What? That means that we have the ability to think like our King. What?
Yes. And he said if you want wisdom, you
Yes.
just ask for it. And
Yes.
he freely gives it.
Yes. Yes.
But the
Yes.
interesting part, I always say I love AI in
Yes.
certain areas
Areas. Yes.
to
Yes.
create like certain things, but not to replace the creator.
Right.
Not
Right.
that, not that at all. Because
Right.
it's fun to use. It can be fun,
Yes.
but when I want to tell my story, I want you to really get my story.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, you want the person to if you're doing it in this form, right? You want them to see your facial expressions. You want them to hear if
I
your
want them to
voice gets,
feel.
yes, yes, if your voice gets a little choked up,
Right.
or
I want you to
yeah,
feel what I'm
feel.
talking about.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Oh,
what advice would you give like, aspiring authors who believe their story isn't like important enough to share? Because some people really believe that.
yeah, I would say that I go back to kind of what I was saying in the beginning, and that is that like God has created each and every single one of us as individuals. We are uniquely and divinely made, and God allowed us to be birthed into the families that we have been birthed into. We did not get that choice, right? And so the families that we did or did not have growing up, it shapes who we are as a person. And then when God gets a hold of our life, then he shapes our identities and we become children of God. And so not only when we're born are we extremely unique because he created us, right? But then when
Right.
we become born again, we're then unique again because he then gives us giftings. Those giftings start to really come forth and birth through our sanctification and our walk with the Lord. So then he uses that physical birth and he uses that spiritual birth. He collides those things along with our experiences, our hopes, our dreams, our trials, our frustrations, our victories, our failures, our everything. And he makes the very unique you and the very unique me and the very unique listener. And nobody else has your story except you. And there's somebody out there that needs to hear your story, because maybe they're just right in that same exact place that you were or have been or are going through, and they need you to throw out that lifeline to them. And God can use your story to touch other people's, no matter how crazy it is, or no matter how maybe it just has been kind of like a steady stream. There's just as much wisdom in a steady streamed life as there is on the rocky rapids of life.
That is beautifully said. Beautifully said. You really truly answered that question with such wisdom. I love it. How has sharing, like you shared stories. Sometimes sharing your own story can bring forth changes in your own personal life. Have you experienced that?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Let me see what I can share that that it's okay to go out on the airwaves. I think, ah, okay, here's a good one. For whatever not, well, I know some of the reasons, right? But for reasons just due to being raised the way I was, rejection and jealousy have always been kind of those things in my life that like to bubble up, and they have their way of creating havoc in my thought life. They also have a way of stopping me from moving forward. But when I told somebody, I'm really gripped by being jealous of other people, and I'm really gripped by this rejection. And when I was able to actually tell the story about where that actually stemmed from, because of the way that I was raised, right? I had great parents, so I'm not going to blame them. But hey, my parents were growing up the same time that they were raising me. They were young too, and they aren't who they are now. But back then, they weren't the same people either. But for whatever reason, you know what? I was allowed to go through what I went through, as hard and as hurtful as it was. But some of those side effects were and are at times that jealousy, that feeling of rejection when somebody tells me no, or that feeling of jealousy. But the moment that I was able to tell my full story, the moment that I was able to share with my friends in small group where all of this stemmed from and what I'd went through, and to admit that I actually struggle with these things, it broke something in me. And what it broke was the ability to then identify when those feelings started come up in my mind and my heart. And when they do, I can then face them and go, oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, 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 we are not going there today, because, and then I'm able to fight with that mind of Christ, that I am fearfully and wonderfully made, that I do not have to be jealous about any other human being in this world, because God has created me the way he has created me. And I don't have to fear rejection or be worried about rejection, because God doesn't reject me. And although one door may shut, another door will open eventually, and it will be blessed by God. So they can say no, whatever, it's time to just walk forward. We're not going to let you, like, not going to let that stuff bring me down. So I just say all that to say that when we share our stories, to answer your question in a one sentence, when we share our stories, it breaks the power that those stories have, that that keep us pushed down, that keep us from moving forward, that keep us from taking the next steps as an entrepreneur, as a writer, as dot dot dot. You fill in the blank. So, but when we can share our stories and when we can be vulnerable, it has a chance to break those strongholds, and that's what they are. They're just strongholds. They're strongholds that get fortified over the years, and we become isolated people who get trapped in with those different stories that
Yes.
what happens to us. But when we can find those trusted people to get it out, such as yourself, Martha, you're a sounding board to people such as me when people talk with me one-on-one or when I'm in small groups. And so our stories have the power to not only bust our own selves free, but you can bust somebody else out free too. They can bust out free too. So that's the power. Jesus used stories. And when
Yes, he did.
he used stories, and he used stories every single time to get people to be able to move past wherever they were in their
Hmm.
life, to move forward and to keep going in him so that they could be free, so that they could have a relationship with him. That was the whole point. He told the stories to
Yes.
draw people to him. Yep.
That's transformation.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then too, when you speak it, it no longer has power over you, like you said. And
Amen.
it's not hidden. It's no longer
Amen.
hidden. So you
Amen.
can get healed. It's so cool. I
Yes.
love it. I love
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Storytelling is the best.
Absolutely. And you just said something so profound, Martha. When light shines on when you tell it, a light is shine on it. And you can be in the darkest, darkest, darkest cave in the whole entire world. And if
Mhm.
somebody would just light a match, that match changes the whole entire atmosphere in that cave. One match can
Yes.
light up a dark room. And so when we tell our stories, it gives the ability to bring that light into that dark place and illuminate it and shatter that darkness.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I love that. Joby, you spitting out wisdom left and right.
To God be the glory. I
I
wish
know,
I could
right?
tell you that wisdom has come easy, and I don't mean to boast, but I don't feel like I'm that wise. But I will tell you, it comes from
I know when he does it, don't he make you look good?
yeah, he does. And you know that it only comes because of the trials and because of the things
Yes.
that you walk through and the things that we decide that we're going to push through, because you can't give birth to anything in life unless you push. And thing in life is
Ooh,
hard, and you got to push
yes.
birth that thing. So, and sorry guys
And when
listening.
it comes out so beautiful.
Yes, yes it does. Yes
So
it
I
does.
love it. Yes. So Joby, thank you so much for coming on and sharing, what God has blessed you to do for people, and that's to help them tell their stories because, some people it actually is a groundbreaking experience because they get to tell it, they get to share it, and they also get to leave a legacy for
Amen.
their family members as well because it goes on and on and on and those and stories never go out of style. To the audience, if you know someone who is, truly want to tell a story and don't know how and afraid to even some people are afraid to step into a publishing company because they're afraid of what's going to be said. And as you can see, Joby has such a gentle heart. Even if you use AI, she would gently tell you, don't do that.
That's right.
Don't, just don't. No.
Just no.
Which is great. She'll still work with you, but she's gonna pull what God has given you out of you so you
Yeah.
can become the person. So you can have the confidence when you write, you can have confidence to tell your story, you can have the confidence to answer questions that people may ask and about your book because it's your heart. And so, if you want to reach out to her, I will have her information in the video. And Joby, I am so grateful to have met you and so grateful that you came on today.
Thank you. Thank
Until
you for having
then,
me. Yes.
until then, to the audience, you guys have a fantastic Monday.
It's your time to shine. Journey to chart. Coach Rice wisdom.